Alright, I'm going to do a quick video today, build another broom. Hopefully it turns out alright, hopefully a little bit better than the last one. It's been a while since I've made one, so it'll probably end up worse. But I want to show you a few of the tools that I use, and some of them I bought, some of them I made. And you know, hopefully if you ever take a hankering to build you a broom, it'll be a good place to start. You don't have to have a kick winder. I'm just real fortunate to have one, and that was donated to me, and I restored it and got it to working. So but if you don't have a kick winder, there's a lot of people that build brooms by hand, just, you know, winding them themselves without the machine. So it's just a matter of you having enough willpower to do it. But I'll show you a few of the things that I use. Alright, the first thing I've got laid out here is this leather strap. Now this came with the kick winder. I actually found it in a drawer that was next to, in the same barn as the kick winder, and I had to put this string on it. But not real sure the size of the brooms that were being made with this piece of leather, but it's just it just has a small hook on it that you can see there, and it would go around, and as I'm adding broom corn to the broom handle, this will kind of hold it all instead of it being, you know, frayed out there real big. You just slide this over it and that holds it down. As the broom gets thicker and bigger, I put that string on there that I can slide it out and hold it. So and that is a pretty good tool to have. So if you're going to build a broom, I would encourage you to make you one, a little piece of leather, a hole punch, you know, a leather punch, and you can make one of these. I'm just glad that I got this one that came with this thing. So this is probably close to 100 years old, if not older. So it's nice to have that. I don't have a broom vise, which is what you would put the broom in and vise it down whenever you're sewing the broom together. These two pieces of wood are made out of oak, and you know, I just open it up, broom on, I'll show you in a minute, and tighten it up, and then I can sew right across the top of this thing. So look, I'm not smart, anybody can do this stuff. You will need a sewing needle. They sell them, I'm sure they sell a type of needle that you put your string or whatever you're going to sew it with through the center, and it's pointed on both ends, and you just back and forth weave when you're sewing. I didn't do that. I actually took one of these things off of the pegboard and cut the ends off of it, sharpened one end. And you don't want, if you're going to do this, do not sharpen this to a prickly point. I did that at first. What I found out was if it's real sharp as you're trying to sew, it will stick into the broom corn and pull the broom corn out as you're pushing your needle through. So trial and error taught me that I needed to hone it down and then dull it off, make it nice and smooth, but just dull the point off. Here I drilled a hole completely through the needle. I don't know if you can see that. I drilled a hole completely through the needle, and then I drilled a hole through the top into that. And so what I'll do is I'll take my string. I had a piece of scrap somewhere. Here we go. I'll take my string when I get ready to sew it, and I'll stick it down in here and push it out the side. I'll melt it on one side, flatten it out, and then my string will come out, and I'll show it. I'll have it here in a few minutes. And then that way I can sew it, and it doesn't catch a whole lot of broom corn as I'm weaving through it. So that's you're really going to have a needle to make one. I ordered this knife when I ordered the broom corn and a few other things, and it's real flimsy kind of, but man, this thing is sharp, and so it's important to keep it sharp. It's kind of cheap, just a little piece of leather here, and as a knuckle saver and a cheap little handle, but it works good. And you know, as long as you're not beating on the nails or the brads that you put in the handle, it'll hold a pretty good edge. Next is this. I don't know what you call this stuff. I'd call it a broom hammer. It's got a little bit of a sharpened edge on one side and a blunt edge on the other. This is if you're going to be beating tacks in on your broom handle, and then flattening out or firming up the wire as you're going around the broom corn, kind of getting it tighter down around the handle. So I wouldn't say this is a necessity. It just kind of came along with a little three. I think I bought these two things, and I don't know, maybe that nylon string as a starter kit kind of thing. So to get started, conveniently have a small air compressor, so I use this thing, and it's just a small 18 gauge fastener. So I just shoot the wire in, and as I go around, instead of nailing it. Now that's not exactly the oldest way of doing things, but it's the simplest way. So all right, now to get some width to it, as you've seen in the video I done last year sometime. To gain some width, I'm going to add just a little bit on the sides to give it the wide part. And then once I get that done, get those on, then I'm going to flip some backwards and do the same thing so I can fold them over, and that's really going to form the body on it. So I'm also going to move up just a little bit. The whole time I'm going to try to inch my way back up at the handle just a little bit to give it more of a tapered look. Of course, I want the next section of the shoulder to be exact opposite of this one. So I'm here, this one's going to go right here. Let me get it up here where you can see it. Just like that. Bring this one over right here. Hold that down. Alright. Just like so. Alright, I'll show you how I've got my vise set up, and hopefully by the end of this thing we'll have a broom that looks halfway decent. Yeah. Now, all I done was took those 2 pieces of wood I showed you earlier, drilled 2 holes in it, got me a bolt long enough to reach through and to where I could tighten it up. Now I put these grooves in here, I thought maybe, let's see, I thought I could lay my needle in, get a good angle just for sewing, and I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I just didn't, after I'd done it, I didn't think it was really that practical. But I'll show you how I thread my needle. I'm going to take about 6 to 8 feet of this nylon thread, nylon string, whatever you call it. It's braided. I'm going to stick that down in there, and a lot of times, I know you probably can't see it with this camera, I've got a hole in the top and a hole all the way through the side. I'm going to stick it right through the top, just like so, and then I may have to have something of a nail or these little tweezers right here, and just push it out one side or the other, enough to where I can grab it and pull it through. A little bit of effort, but you get it to where it goes through like so. I'm going to cut this gnarly end off right here, so I ain't fooling with it. Then I'm going to burn this end, get it hot and melty, and then I'm going to flatten it to where it won't pull back through. Just like that. And then I'll usually just lay it on something and roll it, just to kind of smear that. Wish I had my big camera so you could see it better. Next thing I'm going to do is on one end, just so it will catch in the straw, I'm going to tie a small knot in it like so. I'm also going to burn the end of it. I'll melt it so that knot don't come apart. You're not trying to, you know, crank on it so tight that your broom loses its shape. You just want this to go in there and kind of be like a little anchor and hook onto the broom straw until you get started wrapping it around. So let's get started. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is just kind of go right in the side, just like so. Pull all this through. And here's my little anchor, and it's just going, and it will most of the time just bury down in there, because you're going to go around a couple times, just like so. Once I get this half hitch in here, you'll cinch it down a little bit. Better vise. Now what I'm doing is I'm going, as you can see, it come over the top of this right here. So when I'm going back, I'm going to go under it and come out on top of the other side, and then it's going to interlap just like that the whole way. So now I'm going under, and probably, you know, I've got those measurements right there at maybe a 1/2 inch. And usually after you get it through there a couple times like that, it's not going to go anywhere. I'll spin it around here where you can see what I'm doing on this end. How I'm going to tie it off. So I come in on the top right here. I'm going to go right back under on the end, and I'm going to run it back through about three spaces back. It's going to tie 1/2 hitch inside the broom. I'll cut it, spin it back around so you can see. So this is where it came out at. So I'm just going to cut that like that. Take my lighter. I know what you're thinking. You're going to burn the broom up. Actually, I'm not. Because all of this broom corn, all this broom corn I soaked in water before I started putting it on the handle. You soak the broom corn, that way that wire doesn't cut it, and it's a little more pliable. All right, so that's going to have the first run done. So let's get our vise off, and we'll do some trimming on it, see what it looks like. Alright, I'll trim it up. All right, there we go.